Hello, and welcome back to the Lazy Susan Revolution, co-hosted by Sean, Chris, and Mary Hruz. Today in the studio we have Meg and Lucas Comeau, and we'll be asking them a few questions about their life. They're siblings of ours, and we'll be asking questions about their life, maybe giving a little bit of trivia to see if their skills in tea recollection is on par. But first, let's do a few quick sections. Chris is here with our sports as playoff season continues.
Awesome. Quick update on sports. 49ers getting a 27-10 win over the Vikings. 28-12 win for the Titans puts them in the NFC and AFC championship games. Today we have Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Houston Texans, and our beloved Green Bay Packers will be hosting the Seattle Seahawks at 5:40. Now off to Mary to talk to us about the national parks.
Hi. So I just last night we in St. Louis got a little snowfall that we weren't really expecting, and it was very beautiful, and it got me thinking about what other parts of the country look like during winter, and what kind of vacations you could go on during the winter. Specifically, the top national parks to visit in the winter include Yellowstone National Park, Rocky Mountain National Park, and Bryce Canyon National Park. And there's lots of benefits to visiting the national parks in the winter. A big one being you get to miss lots of the crowds because most people take their vacations in the summer, but by visiting in the winter, you can have the park almost all to yourself to enjoy lots of wildlife and beautiful snowy scenes. You can even go skiing and snowboarding in a lot of parks, and there's even good hotels and lots of parks to visit. So I hope to one of my days go to visit a national park in the winter because I like winter weather and I like winter wildlife.
Yeah, that's something I didn't think of, just going when nobody else is, because I always thought winter sports and winter fun was underrated, and I think it's a good way to go for vacationing.
Exactly.
Anyway, on to our guests. We have Meg and Lucas Comeau again. You can say hi. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Yay.
So we're having you here because you guys are in town. You've been in and out of town for the whole break, it seems.
Yep.
And we're hoping to catch up a little bit in terms of your life. You guys have been married for how many months now?
Almost 7.
Almost 7.
7 months.
Yep. We're about 3 days away from the 7-month mark. But anyway,
Really?
yeah, it was very exciting. But anyway, yeah, so like Sean was saying, we're full-time. We're living in Platteville, Wisconsin, which is, I've been teased for describing it this way, but it is the largest small town in southwest Wisconsin. That's
And they're very proud of it.
I'm really proud of it.
Are there T-shirts that say that?
No, but there should be.
There should be. We should make them.
That'd be smart.
We can make a killing.
We could, honestly. It's
Side
good.
hustle.
No, it's funny because the city of Platteville, it's a college town. We work as college campus ministers at a Catholic Newman Center there. So it's your typical, small town, college town. The college itself is the source of revenue for pretty much all of the city. But Platteville keeps trying to find ways to make itself bigger and make itself more marketable. Like, it wants to become a big city. And it's funny, we have some insight from the college students who are locals who grew up, who are a little bit annoyed with it, who just want to enjoy Platteville for what it is, who get really tired of all the housing and all the new buildings that are going up that don't need to be there.
I'm not really sure what they're enjoying in Platteville, but
Yeah, I don't know. It's good. I enjoy Platteville, personally. It's a nice, it's a nice atmosphere.
it's nice and quiet.
It is nice and quiet most of the time.
Except for when there are students there, which is most of the year.
Yes, so it's sometimes quiet. You'll get, it depends where you go. If you'd like Friday night on the frat party row, that's not
They'll
always the
sit
best.
outside around a fire and throw beer cans into it.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. Like, their social time is just they sit in a circle. There's not even a fire in the center. They just throw beer cans into the center, and by the end of the night, there's just a pile of
These are empty beer cans.
Yes, these are empty beer cans.
when
They
they're
have-
when
they
they're
have-
done drinking.
What
They have
fun.
consumed them and thrown them into a pile in the center of a ring of chairs.
Yeah.
It looks like some sort of summoning circle for
College culture.
todos.
Yeah, and then they leave them there. So like the next morning, Saturday morning, there's just empty lawn chairs and just a pile of cans.
Yep.
And
Just there the next morning. That's how you know where the party is, or was.
There are other things to do in Platteville that are not as much party-centered. We've met some really cool people who do a lot of, I don't know, fun outdoors things for the most part.
There's also
nice
people
parks.
that actually study on the weekends.
Yes,
It's strange.
It's a big engineering magnet school, so there are a lot of nerds there who will actually, if you're not in the party crowd, you are probably studying on a Friday night.
Who would you recommend this school to?
Oh, very good question.
Definitely engineers and education majors.
Engineers and education, those seem to be the strongest points.
So it's like STEM engineers?
Yeah,
Yes.
there's pretty much across the board, mechanical and electrical. And
Most often they are mechanical engineers, but you get some electrical, you get some civil, so it's a good mix of them.
yeah, and then on the side, it's funny, the college actually started out, there were two separate colleges in Platteville. One was a mining school. It was originally a mining town back in the day. And the other one was the School of Education. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the first college of education in the state of Wisconsin. So and they've built up that cred. So the education department there is still pretty strong. So
I bet it's the largest of the smaller schools in Southwest
Oh, yeah.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
it is definitely the largest small school in
Yes.
Southwest Wisconsin.
Yeah, so
Queen.
tell us more about what you do on campus.
A good question.
Well, I primarily work with the men as well as things regarding the liturgy. So I'm actually in charge of helping out with like the church services and things, gathering altar servers, planning schedules. We're actually planning on adding a few more ministries. So we'll be seeing what we end up adding and who we get to help join up in with that. And then otherwise, I'm usually hanging out with guys. There have been a couple times where it's just a fire. You just hang out at a fire, drink some beer. Other
Throw 'em in a
times
can.
I
Pile.
Throw 'em in the pile.
So that's your job. You get paid to throw beer cans in the fire?
Well, we fundraise
every
to
once
get
in a while.
paid.
Yes,
okay.
exactly. And otherwise, I'll be inviting guys out to do things. I'm in charge of outdoor activities, so I have also brought a whole bunch of people. I think we got like 25 people to go archery shooting not too long ago,
Yeah.
and we've taken some people to different parks in the area.
Yeah. So to back up a little bit, just for context, I'm not sure how familiar any of our listeners are with the Newman Centers in general, or probably how we do it at Platteville, because every Catholic Newman Center, a lot of colleges have Catholic Newman Centers, which is just the center for, for Catholics on campus to go for Mass, for community, for fellowship, for other, things that are formational in the faith, or just fun, recreational. And so the way we do it at our Newman Center is very much geared toward that. Like, our whole job is to facilitate all of those things, community and faith formation and the sacraments for our students. So we have a pretty big team, all things considered. We have focus missionaries their job is kind of like go out on campus and kind of reach out to the people who, are lonely, who don't really have anyone to hang with, who don't even know about the faith even. Kind of start there. And we are on the campus ministry side, are more home base. So a lot of our job part of it is administration, just kind of keeping the building running. Part of it, like Lucas was saying, is like, setting for the liturgy and the masses. That's more kind of what Lucas does. And aside from that, a lot of it is event planning. So we kind of put together our big events, our free dinners and stuff like that. And all the time in between, we're just spending time with students. We're just one-on-one or, in a group with them, just living life with them, showing them how to live a fun, dynamic Catholic life in every day, where you don't have to be like sitting in a circle and throwing beer cans all night to have fun. You can actually like go do fun things and genuinely live a vibrant Catholic life, and that's not weird.
So if I'm just a synopsis of what you just said,
All the
what
things.
I'm getting is Newman Center is not is just a place where Catholic students in the college can go to just hang out and be with a community of people,
Yep.
and then feel comfortable doing things like going to Mass and doing prayers and different things like that. But it's mainly just this space that you guys could build relationships together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of hits it on the head. So much of it, like, it is very important. We are all Catholics here in this room. It's like, to go to Mass every week, that's, one of the obligations of our faith. That's one thing. But it's like, it's so important to have that supplemented by relationships, just other people who are living the same life as you, other people you can talk to and learn from. And just have a good time with. Like, so much of college life, you are influenced and your life is enhanced by the friendships that you make.
Yeah, oftentimes you'll hear the analogy of coals. If you bundle them together, they last a lot longer than when you have one coal pulled away and off by itself. So that's kind of setting the cultural context, so you have that ability with your friendships that you build to then strengthen yourself, strengthen your faith, and then work your best as a student and as a worker at this college to try and just live out your faith in everyday life, help other people, and be helped by other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you guys say you play in the big events and stuff, and I've heard you talk about the massive amounts of food that you have to make, and then I heard you say one time when you were home that it's easier for you to make food in large quantities than it is to make in small quantities. How's that going? Elaborate on that.
Yeah, good question, because I mean, maybe part of it is just that's what I've gotten used to. Last year was my first year at the Newman Center, and I got put in charge of Newman dinners and Sunday brunches. So Newman dinners is just a once a week, Wednesday night, free dinner, free for all, basically. But yeah, it's a really big thing. And at this point in time, like, I knew my basics of cooking, but I learned a lot about cooking as I was cooking for 60 plus people every week. And yeah, once you get in that mindset, it is kind of easier. Like, you do the exact same thing you would probably for normal cooking, except you're making everything in bulk.
You're making like 60 eggs and
yeah, you're cracking 60 eggs. And it's like, it's at the point, like, I remember last year I came home for Thanksgiving and Dad asked for the largest, like, cooking pot that we had. And somebody pulled out this, and what in my mind was this teeny little pot, and I was like, that cannot be the biggest pot we have. I'm used to, like, ones that are,
Those
like...
jumbo things.
Ones that, like, actually go, like, almost above my head when they're up on our big stove
Now,
top.
is it, like, for the dinners, do you make chili and soups, or do you make, like, a bunch of chicken parmesans?
Oh.
Like...
Well, both. We've done and this is one of the nice things is, like, it's not just the campus ministers. Like, there's a CM who's kind of facilitating. But the goal is every week a group of students, like a group of friends or a Bible study or a small group, will just sign up to cook, and they get to pick what they want to make. We, again, our job as campus ministers is just to check in and be like, all right, 5-course meal for 60 plus people. Maybe not the best idea. We kind of help them out a little bit, especially because they might not all know how to cook, but they get to pick. We've done soups before. We've done chili before. That's always a big hit because it's really easy to make soup and chili for a lot of people. We have done chicken parm in the past.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it takes a little bit more work,
Yeah.
but if you have a big team and you plan ahead, you can pull it off. Spaghetti, anything that's pasta is also really easy for big groups.
Yep.
This
last Thanksgiving, we had 5 turkeys we had to prepare, as well as, like, dozens of pounds of mashed potatoes and stuffing and other things. So that was a special thing where you prepped it the night before we were having it, and then you threw it in the oven, and then otherwise we were prepping the turkeys all morning.
Yeah, you see it, and that's the thing is, like, you can tell people who have done this before and people who are brand new. The people who have done this before know how long it takes to make things. The first time I ever made a Newman dinner, I was, like, panicking because I did not know how much time it was going to take.
It's also funny seeing which students are squeamish about sticking their hands inside a turkey and
Yeah.
which are not. Especially at a college where a lot of them are farm kids, so you'll get to identify them that way.
City kids and the farm kids.
It is really funny. Again, Platteville's an interesting mix. It's a small town, but there's a draw from the Madison area, which is a bit north of us, but a lot of the kids are farm kids. They grew up on a farm, like, they're not squeamish about anything, and, like, it's really fun. Honestly, I learn a lot from them. Yeah, so, good times.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I guess that's basically our job in a nutshell.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
So when we had you on, or we asked you to come on the show, I was asking you a few things that you find interesting. Like, what are some things that you would like to talk about? And all you really gave me was, I like tea and books.
Yeah, that's
I'm
basically
like,
me.
Okay, so I found a few tea trivia questions.
That's what you get.
If you can affirm that you actually know a lot about tea.
Oh, good. We'll see. We'll watch Lucas be better at this than I am.
I'm not good at trivia. I don't know why everyone assumes that.
All right.
Because you're
You
smart.
seem like you know a lot of things.
First off, let's do something very traditional. At what time is afternoon tea traditionally taken?
Traditionally. Well, this actually has several new... Okay, no. But the traditional time people think of, at least here in America, is like 4 o'clock-ish p.m. Like, between 4 and 5 p.m. is often what I at least think of. I think closer to 5 is probably what the British actually would do.
So give me an exact answer down to the the o'clock.
The o'clock. Okay, I can't just say between 4 and 5.
Yeah. Between 8 a.m.
Yeah.
and 9
Well, that's the
p.m.
thing. It's like dinner time. You don't. It doesn't have to be a specific. I would say 4 o'clock. Although I feel like I'm gonna be
Do
wrong.
I also get to guess?
Yeah.
You can.
Sure, I don't know anything, but I'm gonna just no scope 2 p.m.
Oh,
Okay.
that's gutsy.
I was thinking more of that. Yeah,
I was
2.
thinking
What do
three.
you guys think?
I'm thinking 3.
I thought-
2, 3.
I thought
So we've got 2,
3
3, and
o'clock.
4
So
as
I said
guesses.
3
Okay.
o'clock.
That's fair.
Meg is correct with
Hey.
4 p.m.
Ooh.
4 p.m. That's true.
listener.
Can I give the little behind the scenes?
Sure,
of-
yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
So the reason why tea time actually became a thing was because way back in the day, like people would eat dinner very late at night.
Right, like 8
Like,
o'clock dinners.
8 o'clock, 9 p.m. So like by
Oh,
4,
you
like
need that to
by
get through.
4 o'clock is when you're starting to get peckish. So you sit down, have some tea, have a few biscuits, and that kind of holds you over until
8 o'clock.
Now
Your
that makes
tea bag.
sense.
yeah. Basically.
All right. In which country was tea first drunk?
Oh.
Where did it start?
Yeah.
I think I know the answer.
So we'll start with Meg because it's mainly for Meg, but if other people
Because
have
Meg
different opinions.
I have a guess.
All right.
That's right.
Well, my guess will be the wonderful. Well, actually, there's 2. I'm gonna say China.
Okay.
There's another option
I'm
that
thinking China or India.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say India to cover bases.
Yeah, I was gonna say if it's not China, it's definitely India, but I'm going with China.
So we got China, India,
I'll go with China.
China,
India.
All
India.
right.
Ooh,
All right,
50-50.
even break.
The correct answer is China.
Hey.
I suck at this.
Yeah.
If it's old, it's probably from China.
I need some tea to suck on.
Wow. Okay.
Get your inspiration from tea.
That's good. It's fun. I
Now
don't
it's
know.
ready to go.
Again, fun facts. Yeah, well, I don't know if you had the fun story of like how tea started. I'll get into that at some point later. But traditionally, China is pretty well known for green teas, while India is more known for the black teas. And I'll
Interesting.
probably get into the distinction between the two later, but we can
Oh
continue.
well, we got time.
We
You
got-
wanna?
I could, I
Yeah,
guess.
give us this insight.
All right, do you want the
rundown.
story of how tea, the legend of tea, or
Yes, the Legend of Tea.
the legend of
That sounds
tea?
Let us
interesting.
hear.
That's good. Any of you guys? I know we went to the Celestial Seasonings Tea Factory
that
a few
was
years ago,
magical trip.
and they kind of talked about this. And this actually is the legend that. The legend goes way back in ancient China. There was a wise man, like I guess a Confucian monk or something like that. Some wise man who was trying to meditate all day long, and he could his eyelids kept dropping because he couldn't stay awake, and he was just so frustrated. The story goes he ripped his eyelids out, threw them on the ground, and they blossomed up into a tea tree.
Oh.
Fabulous.
Oh.
And then the leaves floated down into his cup of water and made tea.
I will be sure to remember that every time I drink tea
I
from
love
now
sipping
on.
on Confucius's eyes.
That's true. The simplified version I think they give is just where the leaves just kind of drop down into his cup, and I guess he was drinking hot water
like,
for
well,
some
that's
reason. And he was like,
Maybe
oh.
it was cold.
That might have been the
Maybe
reason that he was
over.
falling asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Almost
I would
warm drink.
rather hear the eyelid thing than
Yes.
the
The eyelid thing is pretty funny. And it was after he started drinking it, because tea has some caffeine, he was like, oh, now I'm awake, and also my eyelids are gone.
So I can't close my eyes.
Now I
no matter how
can't
much
sleep.
I want.
Yep.
And thus he had no need for caffeine.
So, yeah.
All right. Another question.
Oh, good.
Let's do this. So, 98% of people in Britain take their tea with milk.
Ooh.
But what percent take their tea with sugar?
Oh, man.
Now, I can give you one of two options, but let's see if Meg can just... Actually, yeah, we'll do it like this. Everybody just spitball what percent, whoever's closest is going to win.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll
if
let
I'm
Meg
gonna-
go first.
I don't think I'm going to know this one.
98% of Brits take their tea with milk. How much take it with sugar?
Oh.
Gosh. See, that's even more than I would have expected. Although, again,
is more.
Brits, I shouldn't be surprised. I'm gonna spitball and say 45%. That's probably way off.
Do you think it's high or low?
45%?
Yeah, do you think that's...
I think 45 will probably be on the low end of it, but for some reason that's what's sticking in my brain.
Okay.
If you drink it with milk, you
I
might as
don't
well add
remember.
sugar.
I remember I've heard this before, and it's either a lot or hardly any.
As do most trivia questions go.
Yes.
Yeah. Which way are they trying to trick us?
It's something to do with the crumpets and the biscuits because it's either they're not good because the tea is so sweet or they're not good because the tea is not sweet.
But it's got something to do with crumpets.
It's got something to do with crumpets. That's the important
I'm
thing.
gonna go with 70%.
I
Okay.
was gonna go with 65.
Okay, well,
Solid.
I guess I'll go with 40. I'll go on the
40.
lower end.
Okay.
41.
The correct answer is 30%.
Wow. All
So
right.
with a,
Oh,
Okay, so I even overshot it. Interesting.
yeah, that one was hard.
Yeah.
The question came with options 15 or 30%, but I didn't want it to be like a true false. So that would be
Right.
kind of weird.
Yeah, that's interesting. yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what the reasoning for that is. I do know British people, not to criticize them, but British people do tend to... What happens is people add milk and sugar to tea because, as I'm sure you guys know, if you overbrew your tea, if you leave the tea bag in for too long, it starts to get pretty bitter.
Yeah.
And British people just, the way they make their tea, the way they cook, like the way they do all these things, they just like, they'll either the water will be way too hot and the tea leaves will burn, or they'll just let it in for too long. So either way, the tea gets really bitter. And so you have to put in the milk and the sugar to
So
dilute
that's what
it.
the milk is for? It's just to balance it?
It kind of dilutes it.
Okay.
It gives it more of a creamy flavor, which I guess offsets the
Bitter.
bitterness. The tea snobs will tell you that's the wrong way to drink tea.
Okay,
Unless
that-
you're a
They just
British
suck at
tea
making
snob.
That makes
Yeah.
sense now. I
Yeah.
once went to one of my more favorite coffee shops, Caldy's Coffee in St. Louis.
Hey.
Their coffee is great, and I went one time, and I had already had a bunch of coffee that day, and I said to myself, I'm going to get tea instead.
Nice.
And I asked the barista, what's your favorite kind of tea? And they gave me like 3 options, and I picked one that seemed cool. And it was Earl Grey, I think, and they must have steeped it too long. It was
Yeah.
it was more bitter than coffee. It was
Yeah.
rough. But I didn't know that like milk
That-
would have been a good
Yeah,
thing to
milk is a
add.
good. If it's just bitter, add some milk, add some sugar. Like, don't let the snobs tell you. Like, honestly, it's what your taste is. If you like it with the creamier flavor, yeah, go ahead and add milk. Like, I don't know, it's your
I'm
tea.
curious, Christopher. Could you look up for me some ratios like for Americans, like how much milk and sugar they put in their tea
Or coffee, even.
or coffee? Like,
Yeah.
Think Starbucks. Most
Yeah.
people like
Well-
Starbucks, and you put a bunch of sugar and cream and other things in there, but I hate that stuff because why would I go to a coffee shop to make my coffee taste like not coffee?
right? There's, in my opinion, there's coffee and then there's Starbucks.
Yes.
And
It's like Taco Bell. Taco Bell is
Right.
Mexican food. It's Taco
it's
Bell.
Taco Bell.
Yeah.
It's an interesting comment, and yeah, just things just kind of get adapted, appropriated as time goes on. And it's like, yeah, Taco Bell isn't really like the typical authentic Mexican food, but we all still love Taco Bell. It's like the same for tea. It's not the same, but
I
Still
was
good.
doesn't mean it's bad.
I was talking to an unnamed 11-year-old, and she was telling me about her favorite Starbucks drink, and I'm like, you go to Starbucks? You know, I guess they're
yes,
starting
the
early.
Zoomers.
Yeah, the Zoomers, and I was asking her what was in it, and she's like, oh, well, there's no coffee in it. It's just like cream and sugar, and I'm
So
Oh,
like,
it's
I've seen
basically a
those.
melted milkshake.
I've had one of those
Oh.
before. I don't remember what it's
I,
called.
yeah, it was like, was it
Um,
like the milky? It was basically sugary milk.
Yeah,
thing.
it was just white. It didn't.
Yeah.
It looks like a milkshake.
Like breve, is that it, or is that something coffee?
I
Breve
know.
is coffee.
I don't
Okay.
remember what it's
See,
called.
later we can have a coffee trivia, and Lucas will have that.
I
Oh,
don't
boy.
know coffee trivia. I just know that I like coffee.
Okay.
well, speaking of coffee, it's
Hey.
we have a few questions related to that.
Excellent.
Which 2 countries are the largest coffee producers?
Ooh, I think I'm gonna go with Colombia
Okay.
and
Largest producers?
Largest producers.
I mean, I see a lot of Sumatran, but I don't know what country that's from.
Is
I think Sumatra is a country.
Is it Sumatra itself is a country?
Or maybe
I
it's a
haven't
province.
heard of it in the context of a country, but world geography is not my strongest suit.
I don't think it's
Yeah.
any American strong suit.
Yeah, rip.
Yeah.
World history.
we are the
fails.
center of the world, aren't we?
Yes,
Absolutely.
we
We're the top
break Asia in
consumers.
half to prove it.
Yeah.
okay.
Oh.
Colombia's definitely one of them. I'm thinking. I don't know what the other one is. Probably another
I
South American or Central American.
yeah,
country.
probably. I want to say my guess would be Colombia and Venezuela. I feel like that's.
So are
okay.
you guys like on a consensus for Colombia being one of them?
Probably.
So we're just trying to find the other one. So you
Yeah.
said what?
Brazil, Colombia and
Oh,
Brazil.
maybe Brazil.
Brazil?
I'll stick with Venezuela for fun's
Venezuela?
sake.
I
but-
mean, it's got to be one of the Middle Eastern countries because that's where we originally got coffee. So
That's
they
true.
have. I would imagine that they're still one of the largest producers, but who knows? I don't know
Alright.
exactly which country that would be.
Pick one.
So which?
Give us an
Pick
answer.
one.
The Middle East.
That's not a
country.
country.
The Middle East.
Turkey. We'll go with
Okay,
Turkey.
Turkey.
Sure.
The two largest countries.
Yeah,
producing.
coffee.
Um,
Do 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 do
Do,
do
do, 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 do,
I want to
do,
say like Bolivia and
Bolivia.
That sounds about right.
What?
I don't know.
Just pick
I don't know anything, so
Me neither.
it's just a strange guess. Okay, we have Bolivia.
Bolivia. Okay.
Bolivia and Bolivia.
The
Captain
answer
America.
is Colombia
Ah,
and Brazil.
Oh, Mary was
Well,
right.
you
I got it.
Mary doesn't even
Yes.
drink coffee.
I don't even drink coffee.
I was
and I
in
got
the right
it.
region.
You were pretty close.
So whatever.
Interesting. Nice.
I actually did not know that before, so
Yeah. I guess that makes sense though.
I wonder what Bolivia is known for.
not
Coffee,
much.
apparently.
What?
Wait.
No.
No, we just
Oh.
Bolivia.
We just
Okay.
We were just talking about how Bolivia is not one of the largest producers for coffee.
Okay.
Probably
Not coffee.
much.
I don't know.
Okay, so quick
History.
facts about Americans that drink tea. It says here from www.tusa.com that on a given day, over 159 million Americans are drinking tea.
Amazing.
In 2018, Americans consume over 84 billion servings of tea, or more than 3.8 billion gallons.
Wow.
About 84% of the tea consumed was black tea, 15% was green tea, and a small remaining amount of white and dark tea.
Nice.
What's
Interesting.
dark tea?
See, the term dark tea, that's
That
odd.
sounds
I'm not really sure. I was expecting
evil.
him. I was expecting him to follow that with
Corrupted tea.
white and herbal tea. Like that would make sense.
Yeah, I think they don't constitute that celestial seasonings, herbal
I don't
Yeah,
think they
infusions.
can.
technically it's not tea because there's no actual tea plant
It's
in
just
it.
fruit.
Yeah.
But I mean, we call it herbal tea. It's the same idea. It just doesn't have any real tea in it. Dark tea, like my best guess, if it's not black tea, would be like something like oolong, where it's like, and again, this kind of goes back to like, you know, green tea and black tea and all of those different kinds are just, it's the same tea plant but prepared differently, with the exception of white tea. White tea is the blossom of the tea plant, which only comes like once a year, so it's a rarer and more expensive type. But it's like the way they prepare it, like when they're preparing it to market, green tea, it's kind of like they like pan fire it, sort of. They prepare it in a way that it like seals in all the antioxidants, which is why green tea is good for you. It's got antioxidants in it. Black tea, they do something where it's like the leaf is primarily just dried. So it loses a lot of the antioxidants. It still has some. It also has more caffeine, just the way they prepare it. Oolong is kind of a weird mix in between. I don't know the ins and outs of how they prepare oolong tea, but that's my guess for dark tea. I
Maybe
don't know.
dark tea is kombucha.
Maybe. Alcohol tea. The black sheep of the tea world.
Well, I'd have to admire you. You stood up to your test of tea knowledge to a
Yay.
considerable degree.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
I want to thank you guys for being on our cast. I think that's about all the time we have for today.
Fair enough. Great.
But until next week, I hope everyone has a great week and a
Great
Good
week.
time.
great week.
And a great week. Well, thanks for having us, guys. This has been fun.